What's going on, everybody? Today in this video I want to talk about some ideas that I have for the multiplayer side of the next Far Cry game. So Far Cry 6 or RK 2.0 or Far Cry Frenzy, who knows? But I have this list and I want to talk about it. I do think Ubisoft did a fairly decent job with Far Cry 5. It's just the arcade in Far Cry 5 had so much potential, and unfortunately Ubisoft didn't meet that potential. And there was obviously some things that should have been put into the game before Far Cry 5 released that didn't get put in. Ubisoft tried to give us more game modes, but they couldn't meet the deadline. Vehicle respawning they tried to do, but they couldn't do it due to some sort of technical issues. I am just hoping that before we even get a release date, that Ubisoft has all their ducks in a row, that they have a good plan on what they're wanting to do with this new game. And I hope they put a lot of love and effort into not just the campaign. Ubisoft's great at coming up with a standout villain and a decent storyline for the campaign, but I hope they put a lot of effort and love into the multiplayer side and, of course, the map editor. So let's go ahead and start with this list. This list is not arranged from best to worst or anything like that, but let's go ahead and jump in. Of course, definitely share some of your ideas of what you would like to see in the multiplayer side for the next Far Cry game. Number 1, more game modes. Now this pretty much goes without saying, but yes, we need more game modes, and I would like to see a wide range. Of course, you know, some domination, capture the flag. There's some people out there that would probably say, hey, what if we could create our own game modes? I don't think Ubisoft would go that far, but hey, you never know. They did surprise me a couple of times with Far Cry 5, but I would like to see, yes, a wide range of game modes and a really good wide range of game modes to add to our maps. Number 2. Custom classes. Now I know this is kind of stepping into Call of Duty territory, but I mean there's a lot of games out there now that you're able to create custom loadouts. But I think it would be really cool in Far Cry because let's say you play on different styles of maps, and each class you have already your gun set up and you also have your outfit set up for your character to help blend in to a certain style of map or theme of map. So if you're playing an Arctic map, you have Arctic camo on your weapons, you have an Arctic camo outfit, or maybe just a white outfit, maybe just puffy jacket dude, or Wild West, you have your cowboy hat, the boots, you got your revolver, and so on. But I also think this kind of opens up some sort of rewards for the average gamer. And that's something I do want to talk about as well, is I want this multiplayer to be fun for the average gamers who don't care about the map editor at all. And that's something that I hope Ubisoft figures out, is how they can make the game somewhat addicting to the average gamers who don't care about the map editor, who just want to play the Far Cry multiplayer because it's fun. And of course, people like to unlock new skins and new weapons or new gear that they can use for their gameplay experience. And having custom classes, I think, can do that. Now, while custom classes may or may not be a good idea, there are drawbacks about the custom classes. What about map editors who don't want people to use their custom classes to play their maps? They want players to specifically use the loadouts that the editor creates for them. You could do like a modifier, a checkbox under modifier to where it says allow custom weapons to be used or custom classes or not. But I think maps that will not allow players to use custom classes, I think people are going to end up downvoting those maps just because of that alone. And I definitely could see that happening. But I do like the idea of custom classes. Maybe custom classes for only the PvP side. Let me know what you guys think. Number 3, voting systems and comments. So in Far Cry 4, we were introduced to this Facebook thumbs up, thumbs down sort of rating system. I don't really care much for it. In Far Cry 5, what really bugs me is that when you die in a map, you are immediately taken to the voting window as if you have an opinion on a map already. And there's been times where I've died early in somebody's map and I'm immediately taken to a voting window. There's a couple of problems I have with this. Problem number 1, I'm taken to a voting window and it makes me feel like I'm supposed to be done with this map and it's time to move on. I don't want to be done with the map. I want to replay it and try it again. And I want to be taken immediately to the replay option, not the voting window. Another thing too, we do have the rage quitters. People that are playing maps that might be challenging, and because they die a lot, they end up downvoting a map. That's not cool at all. So to fix this, I would really like it if players were only able to like or dislike maps when they complete the map. I think people are going to be a little bit more honest about how they feel about a person's map when they've completed it. Some people can look back and say, this map was hard, but I made it. I jumped over the hurdles and I've made it. And they might actually appreciate the map more. I think we'll get a little bit more honest eyes and honest views about how people think about somebody's map at the end of the journey. But what if the map is not completable? Well, this is where the comment section will come in. Now, the comment section does have some drawbacks as well. Pros of the comment section: hey man, I got stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point in your map, and I couldn't get out, so this needs to be fixed. Then the editor can respond, okay, thanks, I'll go ahead and I'll fix that and upload a new version of my map. So that's why this is great, because with the current voting system where you have 5 stars or 2 stars, anybody that's uploading a map and their map is doing poorly, they have no idea why their map is doing poorly. Then you're back in the map editor, you're trying to pick it apart, trying to figure out why people are disliking this map, and it's like you're trying to walk through a minefield blindfolded, and it kind of stinks because you don't have that answer. With the comment section, we could actually have good answers that can narrow down the problems in our map. But there are the people that can be very hostile or toxic to the editor and not display any sort of good criticism that would be beneficial for the editor when he makes a new map. So I think that's going to be an issue. There will be people that will be idiots and leave terrible comments like that. But it does have its pros, which is you can help an editor figure out exact points on, what was wrong with the map or how they could improve on their next map or what they need to go back and fix. So you can only vote for maps once you've complete them in a comment section under maps. Let me know what you guys think about the comment section. Number 4, create a playlist. So for any of you guys out there who create a series of maps that take place in the same universe or share a storyline, it would be nice if you could take all of these maps and compile them into one playlist. And when any player is checking out maybe your profile, they can see your maps, but they can also see your playlist that you've created, and you can customly retitle these playlists. The problem currently in Far Cry 5, if you're playing a map or a series of maps, for example, there's been people that made the GoldenEye maps, and the problem is I had to actually keep going back into the arcade, then I have to search up the editor, then I have to go through a couple of pages to find his next map, and luckily he had enough room to actually title part 1 and part 2 and part 3, or mission 1, mission 2, and mission 3, so I could figure it out. With the playlist, I think this will be really beneficial for editors, where they could actually share or what kind of looks like a nice little storyline they've got going on, but also it will save some time for players in the navigating area of the arcade where they don't have to go back into the arcade and then look up the editor, go through a couple pages, and then also if there's not enough room in the title to put mission 1 or part 2, you know what maps are going to be next. And if you just start playing the playlist, when you're done with map 1, you click on next map, it'll automatically take you to mission 2, and then mission 3, mission 4, and so on. So creating a playlist in the arcade for our maps. Number 5, map rotation playlist. So this is kind of similar to creating the playlist for your series of maps, but this is more so for just playing. So in PvP side, maybe we can create several maps that we want to play on. We can select maybe the game modes that we would like to play for those maps, time limit, scores, if we are able to have those options. And if we like that, we can maybe loop the playlist where it starts over, or we can just make it to where it's random, or we can make it to where players can select the next map. But if we ever want to create another lobby, we already have those series of maps the player likes to play saved under a little playlist, and of course he can alter it if he would like to and change it up and just save that. Now as far as the solo and co-op, now in Far Cry 4, if you're with a co-op partner, you can select 4 maps. Now of course you're probably going to select maps that look good. Unfortunately, when you finish the last map and you select play next map in Far Cry 4, it loads up a random map that obviously is terrible. There's no effort put into the map, and it kind of stinks. Then you have to actually exit out of that and go back to the menu, which I think in Far Cry 4 would separate you from your co-op buddy. Then you have to re-invite them, then select those 4 maps again. I would like it if in the solo and co-op, we could create a quick little playlist to where we're browsing the newest map list, for example, and we're looking, we're like, yeah, I like that map looks good, we'll select that. We'll play this map next. Go to page 2. I like this map looks great. And we could keep on going. I don't know what the limitation would be, but of course, when we exit out back into the arcade, we don't lose our co-op partner. We can create a new playlist for you and your co-op buddies to play. And it doesn't have to be for co-op. And sometimes just playing solo, I would like to just go from one map right to the next. And you can't really do that currently because when you select the next map, most of the time it's a map you've already played before because it's a popular one, or it's just a map that's just terrible. So it would be nice if we could just select next map and it would just take us to our next map that we have chosen for this playlist. Number 6, more players. I've seen some people say they would like to have a crazy number of people in a match, like 50 versus 50. And to be honest, Ubisoft's not going to do that. Usually when I try to come up with ideas on what Ubisoft could do in the next game, I have to try to think realistically. And while 50 versus 50 I'm sure would be a blast to play, it would be pretty action-packed, Ubisoft's not going to do that. Given to what they've done in the past, Far Cry 4 was 5 versus 5, Far Cry 5 was 6 versus 6, and hopefully Far Cry 6 is not 7 versus 7. My number that I would like to see for the amount of players is 15 versus 15. I think that would cover it, given the map size that we're able to edit on. I think that would be perfect. But hey, if I was to push it a little bit, 20 versus 20. I think that'd be fantastic. But if for some reason Ubisoft can't do that due to limitations, I would like to see at least 10 versus 10. I think Far Cry 3, you were able to have quite a bit of players in a match. I think it was like 8 versus 8 or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a while, but I could be wrong. And then they started cutting it down in Far Cry 4 and then in Far Cry 5. But yeah, 15 versus 15 is pretty much my number that I'm going for. I think that would be good enough to where you have a small squad that are in aircraft, you have small squad that are on the ground, small squad that is defending a base, you have the guys that are going out to assault an objective or to retrieve an objective. So I think it'll pretty much cover all that, and I think at the same time there'll be enough action going on given the map size that we're able to edit on. So 15 versus 15 is my number, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to say 50 versus 50 or anything like that, or 100 versus 100. I mean, that's crazy insane. That would be fantastic to experience, but yeah, I don't think Ubisoft's gonna do that. And also, it would be cool if editors could select how many players are in a map. In case anybody does make a small map, they could do 2 to 4 players, and then they can go up from there. But yeah, more players in a match. Let me know how many players you guys would like to see in a match. Number 7, permission to download maps. I've seen some people say they do not like the fact that people can download their maps, because obviously there are people that try to download good maps that you spend a lot of time on, and then they try to steal it and try to make it like they're the ones, or they are the original creator. I don't think you can get away with that anymore. I hadn't seen that in Far Cry 5. For the most part, I've constantly been seeing original creator. So I think Ubisoft might have fixed that. But yeah, I know there's some people that don't like that idea at all. I do think being able to download maps does have some benefit. You know, if you see somebody making a map or has made a map where they've created this customly designed object, and you're like, how did they make that? You download the map, then you pick it apart. I think it opens up some more doors and some more creative ideas on how you can be creative in designing custom object building for your map. But yeah, I do get the people that don't like the idea of people downloading maps or downloading their maps. Or maybe an option to where players can either download map or download and republish map, or you're not able to download this person's map at all. Number 8, better ranking system. So we're going to kind of harken back to custom classes here in this bit. But one thing that I really hope Ubisoft does for the next multiplayer and the next Far Cry is find a way to really capture the average gamer, the people that don't care about the map editor, who are just checking out this game, and try to figure out a way to keep them entertained and interested in coming back and playing the arcade or the multiplayer, and to help expand the lifespan of the Far Cry 6 game. And I think the best way that you can really do that is to really give those players some sort of drive or motivation to keep coming back. And I think the best way to do that is to really give them some great rewards for them playing the multiplayer. Now, usually people like custom skins and weapons or new gear that they can unlock to use in their gameplay. And also in this case, we can also unlock new outfits as well that we can put on for our character in our custom classes. As of now in Far Cry 5, all you get when you rank up is some money for the campaign, which most of the time people are done with the campaign, then they go to the multiplayer. 2, you get some tokens every now and then that you can use to unlock skills that you could also use in the arcade, which I think is cool. I like that a lot, but I don't think that's enough to keep the average gamer interested. Other than that, your team wins, and that's pretty much it. So I would really like to see a much better reward system or ranking system in the next Far Cry game. The only question is, what does the ranking system really go by? Because if you try to rank up and you're playing PvP, if it's going by the amount of maps you play, then you could play like a bunch of maps in the solo and co-op that are really short and rank up faster that way. So that's something Ubisoft will have to kind of balance out if they end up creating a really in-depth ranking system. So maybe there's just some things you can strictly unlock in the solo and co-op that you can't unlock in PvP. And honestly, I think it would be cool if maybe there was only some things that you only unlock in the multiplayer side that you can't unlock in the campaign. But once you do unlock it, it's available for you in the campaign and in the map editor. And some of you guys may not like this idea, but I honestly wouldn't mind if every few ranks we get some new assets too in the map editor. Because that probably would get me out of the map editor a lot more. If I was playing somebody's map and they had the Blood Dragon assets and the weapons from Blood Dragon and all the AI characters and the vehicles from Blood Dragon, I'm trying to figure out how he got these assets, if it was just a mod. But it turns out he reached a certain rank and he unlocked those assets in the map editor. I'm definitely going to be playing the multiplayer now and trying to rank up so I can unlock those assets for myself. So I'm going to get more into playing, PvP and, or solo and co-op, or however Ubisoft would set that up. I'll be more active in the multiplayer side. And as far as, of course, your average gamer, if they're unlocking new weapons, new camos and skins and gear and outfits for their characters, and maybe there's challenges that they could try to master, maybe that unlocks some things as well. So yeah, I would like to see just a better ranking system or a much better reward system, some sort of system that gets the average gamer more interested and keeps them coming back. And of course, at the end of the day, the multiplayer just has to be smooth and it just has to be a fun gameplay experience. Number 9, detailed descriptions. So as it stands in Far Cry 5, your descriptions of your map consist of usually one word: mountains, island, horror, guns blazing, that's 2 words, vehicles. And to be honest, I don't really pay much attention to those when I select a map. Mainly it's the thumbnail that captures me in, but I would like to actually be able to go in some detail and customly write a description for our maps. And I'm sure there's some really good creative writers out there. If we had enough room in our descriptions, that I wouldn't be surprised if people were making stories and short stories in the descriptions of their map, and then the player can read that and then jump into that world. I think that'd be awesome. Or people just leave hints for players before they start their journey in that map. Or people just can be pretty basic and say, hey, this is a snow map with mountains. Enjoy. Being able to customly write descriptions for our maps is something that I would like to see in the next arcade. Number 10, better filter system. So I just mentioned how the one-worded descriptions don't have much use, but I think we could put those one-worded descriptions as a filter setting when we are looking for maps. Because sometimes there are just some maps that I'm in the mood to play. For example, maybe I want to play nothing but horror maps. Unfortunately, I can't just search the word horror when finding a map, because that means that the map has to have the word horror in the title. And there's some good horror maps that don't have the word horror in the title. Currently in the filter system for Far Cry 5, there is top rated, most played, newest. Then you can do workshop or my map, or you can do whatever game mode that you select. But I think what would be a better option is to actually have those small little one-worded descriptions in there. So if I'm in the mood to play horror maps, I can go down to one slot and go over and select horror, and maybe I can go up and select top rated versions of those horror maps, and I get loaded a selection of maps that are top rated but have the horror description. Or if I'm in the mood to play guns blazing, I can do that. Or if I'm in the mood to play open world type of maps, select open world, top rated versions, there you go. Or newest versions, there you go. I think that'd be a much better option for the filter system in the next arcade. Number 11. Private uploads. So there is a small difference between testing your map in the map editor versus testing the map or playing the map in the published version. So on PC, and PC is probably the only one that deals with this the most, when we test our maps in the map editor, there's a few things that goes on. The frame rate drops a little bit, especially if your map contains a lot of assets. 2, the AI act a certain way. And 3, the outer edges of the map have those invisible barriers. In the published version of your map, when you play it, the frame rate doesn't drop that much. It's much smoother gameplay. The AI act a little differently. 3, those invisible walls around the map are not there anymore. So if you're actually trying to make a airplane map with AI flying around, you can't really test it because they crash into the invisible walls in the map editor, whereas they don't in the published version. And I've had to see AI characters taking a totally different route in the published version than they did in the editor version, which ended up kind of ruining that moment in my map. It would have been nice to know that before I published it. Now in Far Cry 4, we had this ability to where we could open up the actual Far Cry 4 game, and we could go down to the map editor option, we could select my maps, and we could actually play the maps that we're currently editing, even if they didn't pass validation. We could jump right in, and we would actually be experiencing what would technically be the published version of that map. In Far Cry 5, we don't have that option. So you could test out your map in the map editor, but it may be a little different when you finally publish it. It would be nice if we could actually publish these maps as private, and we can go into the actual Far Cry game, and then we could actually play and test these maps and see what the actual published version is going to be like. If we're satisfied with it, then we can go ahead and set it to public, and then it'll be on the newest map list. Also, this will be beneficial for anyone making co-op based maps. Obviously, you can't have a co-op partner in the map editor, so maybe you can upload your map to private. You could get a buddy with you in your party, and you and him could jump into your map and play it as co-op and see how the map plays with the two of you. If you're satisfied with the results, then you set it to public. And sometimes maybe you might just want to make a map that may not be appealing, that you know wouldn't be appealing to the average player, that you just make for yourself, but you want to get that nice smooth gameplay experience that sometimes you can't get in the map editor because of the frame rate dropping occasionally. So you can upload the map, set it to private, and just play it for yourself. So being able to upload maps privately is an option that I would like to have in the next arcade. Number 12, last but not least, crossplay if possible. I think the crossplay option would be really beneficial for the Far Cry series, and here's why. We could freely explore custom maps that people have made on different platforms. If you're not familiar with the arcade website, that's pretty much kind of how it works. You could select which platform and then you can freely browse those maps. Unfortunately, you cannot play them. With this crossplay option, we could actually freely look at maps that are created on different platforms and then we could actually play them. And that's something I thought Ubisoft was going to try to do in Far Cry 5 for the arcade, and that's why they strict the PC budget limit. But it turns out they didn't do that. But I think that would be a fantastic idea, but also we could actually play with other editors that are on different platforms. But the question is, what about PC? Because PC, obviously you can add more things to a map than consoles can. There's a much bigger budget. So how do you get around that? Well, I think when you look at your budget window while you're editing your map, maybe there is a console budget. And if you exceed that, a message pops up that says, you have exceeded the console budget. Your map will not be visible for console users. Would you like to continue? And if you're somebody that really wants to create what you are seeing in your mind, you don't care about the budget limit, you just click yes, and you keep editing, your map, when you publish it, will only be available for PC users. But if you want to make a map where PC users can play it, where console users can play it, then just stay under the console budget limit. And when you publish that map, your map will be playable and will be seen by people on the console. But I think being able to do crossplay, I think that'd be a really neat feature to have. So that's my list for some things that I would like to see on the multiplayer side. As I stated before, most importantly, I hope Ubisoft figures everything out before they even do a release date. They get all their ducks in a row. They have a good plan on what they're going to do. But most importantly, they figure out a good way to keep the average gamer interested in playing Far Cry and playing the multiplayer. And I know that's going to help expand the lifespan of that game. So definitely let me know what you guys think about this list. Let me know some ideas you guys have on what you would like to see in the multiplayer side of the next Far Cry game, whatever it's going to be called. I'm always interested in seeing what you guys think. I will not be doing a video on ideas for the campaign because I strictly only like the map editor and anything associated with the map editor. So I will not be doing a video on ideas for the campaign. Ubisoft always does a decent campaign. So anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. You guys take care now. See ya.